Literacy is not a luxury, it's a basic right and a responsibility. This is Varda welcoming you in first Highflyers Global Literacy Leadership e-Symposium, where educational experts from 6 different countries will be addressing global literacy issues, while 100K global teachers will be joining as participants. So if you are watching us, don't forget to mention your name and your country in the comment section. And for discussing global collaboration and sustainable development perspective of literacy, we have Dr. Majid from China with us. Dr. Majid Khan is a scholarly educator and associate professor at the University of Science and Technology, Beijing, China. He is actively involved in teaching, research, student supervision, and project management. He holds leadership roles in several renowned organizations, including mentor for the Pakistan Embassy Beijing for Pakistani young professionals and PhDs, senior advisor to the All China Environment Federation, secretary of the International Mining Committee, and enterprise tutor at Beijing Technology and Business University. He has published more than 65 peer reviewed articles and supervised these across all academic levels. Dr. Khan also serves on SEG and AGU committees in the US, holds editorial positions, and has received several high level academic honors. His science communication talks have been featured in international media outlets. So, who could contribute better than him when it comes to global literacy? Thank you so much, Dr. Majid Khan, for being with us today.
Thank you, Ms. Varda, for the nice introduction and inviting me here. It's really an honor for me to speak about this important topic, global literacy. Thank you.
It's an honor for us also to listen from you. So, to start this conversation, I would like to ask how can educational institutions in China effectively collaborate with international partners to advance global literacy initiatives and contribute to sustainable development goals?
I think collaboration should go beyond formal MOUs. Generally, we sign MOUs between the different institutions. I think these sort of cooperation or MOUs, it needs to be inclusive rather than exclusive and grounded in community realities and response to the evolving global literacy landscape. I think if we truly execute these partnerships, they don't just contribute to sustainable development, but they help shaping more empathetic, globally minded citizens. As for being in China for over a decade, educational institutions in China, they have a unique opportunity to lead and shape global literacy initiatives. So, especially given the country's growing investment, in education, technology, and international cooperation. From my own experience working within a Chinese university, which is University of Science and Technology, Beijing, and I have collaborated across the borders. So I believe that effective partnership must be rooted in mutual respect, shared goals, and long-term vision. And if we talk practically, I think one of the most important approach is to develop joint research and literacy focused outreach programs in the universities in regions which are facing educational disparities. This could include co-developing culturally adaptive learning materials and bilingual literacy platforms, and also I think digital tools that can address both access and equity. This is one of the most important practical approach. And you know that China's strength in educational technology like AI, e-learning platforms, and data-driven educational models, these can be aligned with the UN Sustainable Developmental Goals. Let's say if we take the example of SDG 4, which is quality education, we have different SDGs that can be counted, but in my opinion, SDG 4, which is quality education, that is very important, and it can be, aligned with these models to support undeserved communities across the globe. However, I think that technology alone, it's not enough. Institutions, universities, they also need to invest in intercultural training like faculty exchange and co-hosted symposia like the one you are doing, and that can bring diverse voices into the conversation. So that's my opinion.
So, whatever you have discussed, I think to some extent we are already doing that. We are not only signing the MOUs, but we are trying to practically approach what is signed by in the MOUs. Correct or not? Am I correct in
Yeah,
this approach? To some
yeah,
extent, Pakistan and China have been doing it. So, what innovative funding models and sustainable development strategies can be implemented to support literacy campaigns and educational programs in China, ensuring long term impact, especially for foreign students?
I think supporting literacy in a sustainable way requires a shift from short term campaigns to long term systematic strategies. And that begins with rethinking how we fund and structure these programs. In China, we know that public funding for education is comparatively strong enough, is compared to other countries or region. There is a growing room for blended financing models which could combine government support with private sector partnerships and contributions and even community driven initiatives. I think one of the promising model could be public private academic partnership, which we call PPAPs, where universities like my university, University of Science and Technology Beijing, we did some experiments, we did some collaborations. So institutions like these can collaborate with technology companies and NGOs to co-develop literacy solution. So it's not
Okay.
only about the institutes; it's also about the other organizations. So
Mm-hmm.
let me give you an example. If we integrate local dialect learning apps into rural education system, or we deploy AI tools to identify early warning difficulties, I mean early reading
Mm-hmm.
difficulties, these programs can be sustained if we build business models around them. For
Mm-hmm.
example, low-cost subscription models, which could be subsidized by the CSR funds, corporate
Mm-hmm.
responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah, this is one
Um,
of the major challenge that we are facing in third world countries, especially that the integration of technologies become more expensive, so they cannot access to it.
Exactly, that's true.
Hmm.
And also, if we align literacy initiatives with broader developmental agendas, as you see in Pakistan and other developing countries, so
Hmm.
rural revitalization, and we include digital inclusion, or especially the
Hmm.
women's empowerment, right? Especially in countries like Pakistan, that matters a lot. So
Okay.
when we embed the literacy into these larger frameworks, it can attract
Hmm.
more diverse and durable funding streams. And
Okay.
also, I think it can ensure outcomes which would be not only isolated, but it will connect the real world progress.
Hmm.
So
And
that is
this is
my
what we are talking about in the global perspective. It is very important to get connected on some similar grounds.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So we have to, build literacy ecosystem, not just programs. So for this,
Hmm.
funding and cooperation is very important, and also, we need to think in, as I mentioned, that long term and globally collaborate. It's a shared journey, in my opinion.
So the literacy ecosystem was really a food for thought for me. When you talk about in the global perspective, it's the literacy ecosystem. So the next question also connects with the previous one, and also because your all your background and all your expertise lies around research. How can research and evaluation be utilized to assess the social impact of literacy programs, particularly in China? And what matrices are most effective in measuring success and driving improvement in them?
Right. This is a very important question because I am involved in research and I have led a lot of projects, international projects and projects from China. So what I found that research is really the foundation of understanding whether a literacy program is making a real difference or not. It's not just about tracking numbers, it's not just about the quantity, but I think it's also about asking the right question. For example,
Mhm.
are learners engaging enough? Are the skills sticking long term? In China, I have seen a lot of large scale initiatives. So it's important to use both quantitative and qualitative methods, so we cannot only stick to quantity. It's all about the quality. We have to we have to reinvestigate about the learning experience. So
Hmm.
if you talk about the metrics, metrics like reading fluency, because we are talking about the global literacy, right? So reading fluency, comprehension, and participation rates, they are very helpful. These are the metrics which I believe they are very helpful. So, in my opinion, research is really the foundation of understanding whether a literacy program is making a real difference or not. I think it's not just about
Hmm.
tracking numbers, but also about asking the right questions, which means the quality. Are learners engaging or not? That's important question. And are the
Hmm.
skills sticking long term or not? In China, I have seen a lot of large scale initiatives. So it's important to use both quantitative and qualitative models. We cannot rely only on the quantitative models. So there are some
Okay.
metrics which I think like reading fluency, comprehensions, and participation rates. They're quite helpful, but we also need to look at the things like community involvement and how well the content fits the local needs. Let me give
Okay.
you an example. I have led a lot of research projects as the principal investigator. So in one of my own projects, we did not just measure the outcomes. It was a funded project, but we
Hmm.
worked closely with the students and teachers to
Hmm.
understand their experience with digital learning tools. And this
Okay.
experience actually gave us much more honest view of what was working and what's needed to evolve. So I think the key is treating evaluation as a feedback loop, not just a formality, but a tool for
Yeah.
real-time improvement.
Hmm. So actually, all your answers revolve around one thing, that everything that we are presenting to the world, or everything that we are intending to do, it's not just, it should not be on the paper only, just to show
Yes,
the figures that we achieved this and this. It should have some practical importance, that, and it should look like it has an outcome and making a change. So this
that's
is really
true.
very important, because usually when we talk about researchers, they are only worried about the numbers and stats. Unlike that, you have a very different approach, and that's why maybe you have made a difference, and that's why we are talking to you here. So, what role
Exactly.
can literacy campaigns play in promoting a culture of reading and lifelong learning in China? And how can these initiatives be scaled up globally for broader impact despite of having a language barrier? Because anytime when you are talking about Chinese literacy programs or Chinese exchange programs, the first question arises is always about language barrier, not only for the studies thing, but a lot of students avoid it because they think that it will be very difficult to cope in Chinese environment or Chinese cities just because of the language barrier. So what do you think about it?
So we were talking about the literacy campaign, how it can play role in promoting culture of reading, right? So I think literacy campaigns can do more than improving reading skills. They can
Mm-hmm.
spark a real cultural shift. In China, we have a couple of initiatives that I have seen on national level. Let's say initiatives like nationwide reading. In Chinese, they call it 全民 阅读. It means nationwide reading. It has already helped, position reading as a shared national value. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just something tied to the school, but to build a culture of lifelong learning. We need to bring these efforts into homes, workplaces, and even informal community spaces, So in
Mm-hmm.
China, we have such kind of initiatives. And I think the bigger the challenge is scaling this globally, especially with the language barriers, it's always a problem, especially when you are, let's say, I take example of when I teach to Chinese students, right? I'm teaching in English. There is a language barrier, but there are some
Mm-hmm.
sort of that we can adapt and we can deliver. You know, so from my own work, like you can see that I have been working in different leadership roles. with one of the society, which is Society of Exploration Geophysicists. We did a lot of
Mm-hmm.
such campaigns and other international, collaboration. So I have seen that language does not have to be a barrier if we design contents thoughtfully, smartly. Like we use some visuals, some storytelling formats, and
Mm-hmm.
community-driven translation efforts. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yes, language barriers can be, it can be a serious barrier, but it can be overcome, So I think digital platforms also make it easier to adapt materials quickly for different
Yeah,
regions.
they're really
Um,
helpful.
yeah, and I also would like to say that promoting literacy worldwide is not just about we translate the words. It's about
Mm-hmm.
making learning accessible, relatable, and culturally meaningful. So culture is also important, and making them, relatable. That's also very important.
That was something really insightful, and especially coming from a researcher who has a higher education from Pakistan and then shifted to China, then started teaching in China after doing his doctorate and everything. I think a lot of people will be seeing you as an inspiration. That barrier is just a word in our mind. Maybe it's all in our mind, and we can do whatever we want to achieve. So, thank you so much for your contribution, for your valuable insight. And I hope that a lot of people will be learning a lot from you. Even I am taking a lot of key takeaways from today's session, and I'll be highlighting them. And I'll try to use them whenever I have an opportunity to deliver something related to it. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Varda. I'm really happy, and I think that it's a shared journey, the global literacy.
Sure.
So we all should, contribute in one or other ways. And I wish that your symposium have a successful, audience, and people have access to learn a lot of meaningful things. And I wish it good success. Thank you so much for
Thank you so
inviting me
much.
once again.
Thank you so much. This is High Flyers Magnet signing out.